I think game to do.
We do.
So let's. Yes. Now we're doing the first normal case in a while where we do try to investigate some more. So we already.
But this has got some oddities in it.
Did we already talk to her about all this?
No.
No.
I don't think so, because I think we took a break.
Okay. Let's talk about Kazuma's wishes. Kazuma Asogi, the best friend I ever had, and a lawyer with such promise. He really saved my bacon in that horrible incident just before we left Japan. I can still picture him now, looking so fierce and determined in court, and then after the trial, that crazy idea he came up with. As a stowaway, yes, you can fit inside my trunk if you curl up small enough. Kazuma, won't you tell me why? Why go to these lengths so I can accompany you to Great Britain? Well, it's been on my mind ever since we got through that trial, that you really ought to go into law, be a defense lawyer. You've got a natural talent for it, believe me, I guarantee it. But I've never even thought about becoming a lawyer. Well, I can't force you, obviously, you have to decide for yourself. But anyway, London is the cultural capital of the world, a city at the forefront of everything. It can't hurt for you to see it with your own eyes. No, that's true. I suppose, though, if you were to become a lawyer, then one day... One day what? Oh no. Never mind. Naruhodo-san? Oh, sorry about Kazuma. Yes, he's forever in my thoughts, too. To change the Japanese judicial system for the better, that was his dream. That's why he so desperately wanted to come to Great Britain to study, of course. Yes, that's right, but... Yes? I do wonder if his true intentions lay elsewhere sometimes. I don't know, the thoughts just take hold of me every now and then, that's all. Naruhodo-san, what do you mean by Kazuma-sama's true intentions? I mean this. His katana. I never expected to inherit this sword after Kazuma passed away, of course. No, I know. It was because I asked you to take it. When I have it at my side in court, I feel as though it gives me courage. Yes. Actually, the night before he died, he told me a little about the sword. Karuma. That's right, it's a prized sword that's been passed down through generations of the Asogi clan. A Japanese man's sword is his soul, Ryunosuke. I can't be parted from my katana. Karuma guides me, I truly believe that. So its name compels its wielder to slice evil in two? Not that you would need much compelling. On that subject, there's something very important that I have to do in Great Britain. Something you have to do? Yes. I'd appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it through to the end with you. I knew you wouldn't let me down. What did he mean by something very important that I have to do? I'd hoped that the answer to that question would become apparent when we arrived here, but as yet I've not found a single clue. I see. Yeah, I feel the last game also kind of hovered around that and never answered the question, which is something that I guess it's still something we're trying to discover. Alright, today's trial. It was quite a shock earlier today, wasn't it? When the victim himself turned up in court and took the stand? I know. Not only that, but then finding out that he is actually a bare-faced gas thief as well. Yes, that was certainly a surprise to us all. For a while, it seemed as though everyone had quite forgotten about Soseki-san poisoning the tea. Careful of your phrasing, Susato-san. He didn't poison anything. There's more to this Mr. Shamspear than we yet know, I'm sure of it. Mr. Shamspear certainly wasn't the noble, upstanding man everyone thought he was at first. What's become of him, actually? I was told that he'd be returning to the hospital ward where he was receiving treatment. Oh, which one is that? Let me see. Yes. He's at St. Bartholomew's, or Bart's as Londoners call it. We know that place, don't we? Yes, we visited Miss Green there yesterday. It's the same hospital to which she was taken. Ah, yes, after Soseki-san stabbed her in the back. Do be careful of your phrasing, Naruhodo-san. He didn't stab anyone. Perhaps we both owe Soseki-san an apology. St. Bartholomew's. Yes, we should probably visit the hospital later. So, we know that Soseki-san took tea to the victim on the night in question. But, as he isn't the culprit, then obviously... Yes, the poison surely wasn't in this tea. But if that is the case, how on earth did the poison get into Mr. Shamspeare's body? I'm sure we'll find a clue at the scene. There must be something in Mr. Shamspeare's room that will help solve the mystery. Well, naturally, Scotland Yard detectives have been over the place already, but it couldn't hurt for us to have another look around, I think. Definitely. And I'm desperate to know the outcome of the investigation into the tea left in the bar of soap. Well, if we run into Inspector Gregson, we could ask him about that. Okay. So, let's go on the move. Look how happy she is. So, let's see. So, this is where we are. Green Hospital, Mr. Shamspeare's room, Briar Road, the Garrideb's room, prison. Okay. I think we should investigate here.
Okay.
See if we can find anything. Maybe we'll have to give something to Gregson down the line.
Will they put the meter back? Or they replace it with a new one?
Oh, there's Gregson. Oh, hello again, Inspector Gregson. What are you doing here? Well, we were hoping to have another look around, actually. The lawyer representing the defendant has a right to examine the scene, as I'm sure you are aware. Yeah, I know the score. Oh, yes, one other thing. The soap on the leads outside the window, did you find it? With the tea in it? Yeah, we found it all right, and there was a small amount of tea in it, as you said. I knew it. It's with the identification section at the yard now. They're looking into it. The results should be available later today. That's wonderful news. Thank you. Pretty impressive performance in court this morning. Sorry? Nothing, forget it. Just make sure you don't disturb anything in here. By disturb, does he mean I can't look at anything?
I think you can move.
Let's try. So it turns out that Mr. Shamspeare wasn't eating the soap at all. No way! That's right, the mystery of why he had it on a plate whilst holding a fork in his hand is solved. Yes, to prise his latest ice coin out of its mold. And in the process, he accidentally broke the bar of soap in two. It certainly was hard to imagine, let alone deduce. Ah, the ill-fated teacups from which the two men drank on the ill-fated night. During their heated literary debate, yes. Who's stronger, Romeo or Juliet? It sounds like it was quite a discussion. Now I think of it, I'm sure that the two lovers in the play ended their lives with poison.
They did.
That's fiction, Mr. Sato. Let's hope it stays that way. Oh, she's so sad. The sun never shines in this room, thanks to that depressing bricked-up window. Yet with enough determination, you can always remove the bricks to set some soap outside, can't you? That sounds like a very wise life lesson, Mr. Sato. Only if you plan to follow a life of crime, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. If you ran out of change, you wouldn't even have any light, let alone heat. For the needy, London's winters can be very harsh. That's true, but if you think about it, wealthy would find themselves freezing if they ran out of small change. London's winters can be very harsh for the forgetful too, then. Frankly, I'm starting to wonder if Susato-san and I are going to make it to spring. That's true, we don't even have a meter at Baker Street, let alone a gas stove. I love how she always knows what you're thinking. Look how dark the stain on the floor is underneath the meter there. Yes, from all the water dripping out after the ice coins melted as you established in court this morning. It's a very large and obvious stain, isn't it? Mr. Shamspeare must have used an awful lot of ice coatings, I suppose. It was an ingenious idea, I'll give him that.
Look at that board on the floor that's kind of lifted up.
This one?
Yeah, that's not a clue.
But, good eye. Oh, yeah, I forgot.
What about the candle?
This one?
No. The one that's on the floor that's burning.
See if we can talk to him. Are you looking for new clues, Inspector? On Lord Von Zeke's orders, yeah. Don't come back till you've got something for me, he says. Tisk. Oh dear, poor you. Yeah, poor me, because we've already searched every bleeding nook and cranny in this place. I don't know what he expects, to be honest. Thank goodness for warm chips is all I can say. Well, at least he's honest.
Did we find everything already?
Seems like, but it seemed like they were trying to tell us, hey, you know, go see if you can find some more stuff.
Well, I mean, we talked about the stain on the floor being dark.
Yeah. Well, maybe we gotta come back. Let's see. Maybe we gotta look at the outside. Well, I think this was always there. There always seems to be a bicycle outside the Garrett residence. I read that bicycles are extremely popular all over Great Britain at the moment, in fact. This one seems very warped, though, especially the front wheel. Is that to make it more of a challenge to ride, do you think? Now, I'm afraid that may be a result of the rider's incompetence. For the front wheel to be so badly warped, I'm afraid the rider must have been similarly afflicted. Then there's a good chance Mr. Natsumi has been practicing on this bicycle, I think. Oh dear, I fear you may be right.
What about the soap bars?
I already tried.
Oh.
Okay. Let's see. We can do the hospital or we can do prison. Well, let's see if we can speak to Natsumi.
Aw. He is sad.
Yeah, he has a sad. Can't wait to see what alliteration he has now. Oh, Mr. Natsumi is back. So he is. Mr. Natsumi, hello. Always behind bars. I am a cat. Sorry?
Yummy.
I don't know who Mr. Natsumi is, or Airlock Sholmes. I don't know about courts, or trials, or Old Baileys. I am a cat. That's what I am, just a cat. Mr. Naruhodo, he's trying to escape from reality. Trying to? He already has, completely. So, what is your name, then?
Nagoai.
As yet, I have no name. Mr. Naruhodo, he hasn't fully thought out his new identity yet. Maybe it's not too late to bring him back to reality. Do you think you could open your eyes for us, Mr. Natsumi? I am not a cat. It worked! He's back in the real world. What's going to become of me? No! Don't answer that. It's obvious. My accursed soul is never going to escape this accursed fate.
I just want to go back to Japan, too, if all this crap was happening to me.
Yeah. Mr. Natsumi, no. This morning's proceedings in court prove that there's hope. Yes, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Asakai was brilliant, but, the Reaper is omnipresent in court, in my lodgings, here, there, everywhere. What's he looking straight at me for? I think perhaps there are some things we should discuss. Oh yes, we must. Let's discuss. Knowledge is power. Would you like to discuss the trial or Shamspeare?
Let's talk. Let's talk about Mr. Shamspear.
Alright. That rotten Shamspear. What have I ever done to him? You don't recall him taking issue with you over anything you've done recently? I've been holed up in my room, immersed in books. I don't recall anything. Anything at all. Right. But what I don't understand is why he didn't let me know sooner. Let you know what, Mr. Natsumi? About the soap, of course. What else? Oh dear. Are you struggling with such a meager stipend? Of course I am, if I had money. I wouldn't have chosen to live in a cursed existence in such accursed lodgings. Oh yeah, you said it's because the place is cursed that it's so cheap, didn't you? Exactly, especially the room that I rent. The spirit of that capital offender who lived there still haunts the place and is trying to kill me. Capital offender? Might I ask, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, that the next time you visit me, you bring scores of super soft soaps.
He wants to make his own.
Yeah. In my whole life, have I ever been so moved as I was today? No. Of course, if I cast my mind back, there were perhaps one or two other occasions that moved me more. But if I just block those out, then today, being in that courtroom it was the most moving experience of my life, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're too kind. Scotland Yard found the remaining tea just as we'd deduced, and are analyzing it as we speak. There's nothing wrong with that tea. They won't find a drop of poison in it. That's a solemn, sworn Soseki certainty.
I like that one.
Yeah. Tell me, did you both drink the tea at the same time that night? Oh yes, most definitely. Remember, drink tea while it's hot. We both poured it down our throats like it was a hot bath for our bellies. And at the same time, you were both completely fine, as shown by the fact that he and Mr. Shamspear then engaged in the Romeo and Juliet match. I suppose the focus of tomorrow's proceedings will be how the poison was taken by the victim, then.
Can we show her something?
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I don't know, gas meter, medical report, crime scene, maybe the photograph, maybe something will jog his memory, or the teacups. Or Mr. Natsumi, it's nothing much, but it's been too long since I've been offered a present with a delightfully humble etiquette of our homeland. What? You're too kind, I accept it gladly. Sorry, but I wasn't trying to give it to you, actually.
Okay.
Let's try the teacups. Okay, well, it's really not much. Maybe he knows what the envelope is?
Sure.
Well, it's not much.
Interesting.
Well, he likes soap. Let's show him the soap. Oh, hey, there we go. Mr. Natsumi, what do you know about this? Ah, there it is. That lathery lowlife that took my neighbor's life and sent me sliding to the depths of despair. Slippery, sickly, psychotic saboteur.
He is something else.
Yep, you've really gone off soap, haven't you? Absolutely, and I've made up my mind. The next time someone gives me soap as a present, it's friendship finished firmly forever. I don't know that we can blame soap for everything that's happened, Mr. Natsumi. Let's see. I already spilled the teacups, right?
Yes.
And you're positive I did.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's nothing else here. Okay. Let's go to the hospital.
To see Mrs. Green?
I guess possibly Miss Green, or him, since he's supposed to be there, right? The jam man. What do you suppose is happening? It sounds like some sort of disturbance. Yes, I hear your voices.
No.
Be not angry, O ample lady. Verily, thou art mistaken. Mistaken my foot, you were looking at my painting. The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. 'Twas foul indeed, the poison that mustache villain gave it me. Forgive me, lady. I wish that you died from that poison.
Wow.
God a mercy, ample lady. But thou seest, I have vigor still. Behold my sham spear dance. This looks rather ominous, doesn't it? Ah, lo, 'tis the lawyer from the land whence riseth the sun. How now? What are you doing here, Mr. Shamspear? Mary, I do believe I am returned unto another lord. He was looking, that's what he was doing, looking at my terrible work. Eastern fellow, so dark, eclad?
Yeah.
Faith, thy work in court this morning was wonderful. I do applaud thee. Oh, well, thank you. But that doesn't mean things will go so wonderfully for you tomorrow, does it?
He's freaking out on us now?
Well, he's not talking in Shakespearean anymore. That's a regular sentence. Now he's back to Shakespeare. Anon exunt. Oh, I can't wait for his meltdown.
I know.
Oh, it better be epic. I'm hyping myself. I'm getting my expectations up. Mr. Shamspear might technically be the victim in this case, but there's definitely a lot more to it than that. It's very hard to pin the man down.
Is she crying?
I'm so sorry. I'm such an awful person. Ah, Miss Green, is everything all right? Oh, yes. I mean, don't worry about me. They're about to discharge me, so I must get ready to leave now. Ah, I see. We're delighted that you'll soon be well enough to go home, Miss Green. Oh dear, you're too kind. I don't deserve it. Well, got some talking to do. So are you feeling more like yourself today, Miss Green? I am, thank you. I mean, people do recover from ordeals like this, don't they? Even people like me. Oh yes, it really was an ordeal, wasn't it? As far as I was concerned, I was just walking along in the snow one evening, minding my own business, and then completely out of the blue, I was struck in the back by a knife and collapsed unconscious for days. Of course, when I finally woke up again yesterday, the whole business had cleared up already. What a terrible week it's been for you. Oh no, I'm sure I'm very lucky, really. I'll look back on this fondly. Really? Anyway, I must be getting my things together now, so I'm ready to be discharged. Oh yes, of course. Sorry to take up your time when you're obviously busy.
What about the picture of her?
This one?
Oh.
Thing is, I don't know if some of the stuff that's unchecked is actually, like, important. But I feel like this will just be a description of the contents.
Well, whose bed is that next to her? 'Cause I don't know where.
Ah, this looks like the...
So,
Here she's probably running around the hospital.
oh dear, how worrying. What's worrying is why they haven't
Discharged the patient yet.
What's that sign say?
There are all sorts of medicine in this cabinet. Look, I'm not sure it's safe leaving them in reach of everyone like this. Yes, you're right. I can imagine if you were peckish, you might try a whole bottle or two. Well, at least there seems to be a little lock to secure the cabinet doors. I don't imagine that would stop you if you were hungry. I worry that you'd break the lock. Hunger doesn't turn you into a criminal, you know, Mrs. Sato. One of her cats is just running around the top. You better be careful, kitty. There are a lot of bottles in that cabinet, aren't there? Do you think it's safe to keep them like that? Hee hee. If you were a patient here, I feel sure you'd take some medicine by mistake when you were half asleep. That is a worry, but at least the cabinet has a lock, even if it's only a flimsy-looking one. Oh, I've no doubt you'd manage to unlock that somehow while you were half asleep as well. There are limits even to what I can do when I'm half asleep, you know, Mrs. Sato. You're such a weirdo, Kitty.
Maestro. Do we have anything to show her?
No, because you have to examine her too.
Oh, we're done with what we need to talk to her about.
Yeah. At least for now.
Maestro.
Yeah, what are you doing? Weirdo. Sholm Sweet. We haven't gone there. Maybe they'll say something that will make us think of something. Oh, Runo and Susie! Hooray, you're back! Hello, Iris. You're in fine spirits as always, I see. I am. You look as immaculately presented as ever, Susie. Oh, you flatter me. Well, you couldn't have come at a better time. I've just made a pot of tea. I'll set some cups. Really? Thanks, Iris, but actually, what is that foul smell? Aha, the Wanderers return at last. Where on earth have the pair of you been? We've been in court? Oh, for Mr. Mustache's case. That was today, was it? Nah, Kitty. Don't you dare.
Don't let him break stuff on there.
Yeah.
No, up here where he's at now.
Yeah, there you go.
Being a cat, that's how you know the world isn't flat, because if it was, cats would have pushed everything off by now.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah, there'd be nothing left. There'd be no water in the oceans. They will have pushed the water out of the oceans. And I'm sure I yesterday, Mr. Sholmes. I'm sure you think you did. Ha 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 ha. Well, we can laugh about it now. So tell me, how did the trial go? Reasonably well so far. We've managed to escape without a guilty verdict, at least. Really, I would have liked to see it. And I must pass the time of day with Mr. Reaper again. It's been too long. Is Lord Von Zeeks an acquaintance, Mr. Sholmes? Naturally. There's not a person in the world who doesn't know my name, Mr. Naruhodo. Not quite what I asked, but still. Mr. Sholmes, whatever is that odor? Yes, what is it? It's faint, but absolutely awful. Ah, indeed, that's the scent of victory, my dear fellows. Victory in science. Oh dear. Alright, I'll bite. What's he up to now? Lord Von Zeeks?
I don't know the smell.
Okay. So, what is that indescribably foul smell? Ah, well, most probably this, I would say. What is that? My dear fellow, it is, of course, my latest invention. A chemical test that can identify whether or not a tea is genuine at the drop of some tea. Oh my! There are some unscrupulous sorts manning the stalls along some of London's less frequented streets. They regularly sell what purports to be high-quality tea, but is in fact merely dyed leaves of drab flavor. Well, that's certainly unsavory behavior. So, when one is presented with what appears to be black tea, one must be careful, Iris. At the ready, Hurley. Let us add a drop of my chemical to this cup of tea, yeah? Do you see what happens? It's black. It's turned completely black. And what a foul odor it's giving off. Indeed, the blacker the tea becomes and the more foul the odor, the better the tea is. It would appear that this cup was a particularly fine Darjeeling. That's very ingenious, but what do you do with that black liquid now? Why, dispose of it, naturally. Surely you wouldn't like to drink it, would you? There does seem to be a rather obvious problem with your new invention, Mr. Sholmes. Hence why this chemical test is merely a test, my dear madame. Right. The point is, we are entering a new era of science, in the world of criminal investigation also. Yes, forensic science. Oh, these are such exciting times. I regularly engage in this scientific experimentation alongside my unofficial consulting detective work. The Herlock-Sholmes method will be the foundation upon which modern investigative technique is based. Do you use it in your job?
Use what?
His kind of science?
No.
This little T indicant was a happy byproduct of my ongoing forensic science research. Forensic science? I suppose I should find out more about that. Okay. So, your T-test, is that an example of forensic science? Indeed it is. An essential tool in cases that hinge on the knowledge of whether some tea is of high or inferior quality. Not a huge number of cases, then. Perhaps a more practical example is required. Fingerprints? Not yet accepted in our courts as evidence, I might add. Really, we are dragging our heels there. I hadn't even heard of them until recently, which is partly why I undertake research in this field myself, of course. Does that mean you're studying fingerprints, Mr. Sholmes? There are others in that field already, and I abhor the company of inferior minds. No, what I am researching is skin prints. Skin prints? A nomenclature of my own design, as is this chemical agent that makes it possible. It instantly reveals objects touched by whichever person is under investigation. Brilliant, Mr. Sholmes, as long as it doesn't turn everything completely odorous and black. I assure you, my dear fellows, you will witness my forensic talents and actions very soon indeed. Lord Barak von Zeeks. Yes, it's an interesting sobriquet he has, isn't it? The Reaper of the Bailey. Once the legendary prosecutor has fought for someone's conviction, that person is doomed. Even if he or she is found not guilty by the courts, sooner or later the hapless soul will vanish from the capital. But vanish how exactly? By falling under a passing carriage, or drowning in the Thames? Or succumbing to a sudden fever, or quite out of the blue being set upon by a highwayman? There are numerous routes to one's final terminus, my dear fellow. It all seems a little far-fetched, really. Well, on the bright side, Mr. Mustache is fighting fit, for the time being at least. That's not overly reassuring. If the rumors are true, though, the obvious conclusion would surely be that those acquitted are, well, by Lord von Zeek's own hand. As it happens, Miss Usato, that is quite impossible. Oh, why? Naturally, the man very quickly came under such suspicion. However, whenever these incidents occurred, the Reaper always had a cast-iron alibi. Really? And so his reign continued. But 5 years ago, he vanished from the courts, never to appear as a prosecutor again. That is, until you arrived in the country, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, so I've heard. In fact, it was the very day I arrived when I was thrust into that trial at the Old Bailey. That bitter fight to the death coincided with the Reaper's resurrection, and really did end bitterly indeed. And here you are facing Mr. Reaper again. Poor Rudo, I don't know if you're just incredibly unlucky or incredibly unlikable. I think it goes deeper than just me. I sense a general loathing of all Japanese people.
Oh.
With Mr. Natsumi, who I'm currently defending, being Japanese as well as Miss Usato and myself, I felt it even more keenly in court today. For some reason, Lord von Zeek seems to have an inherent disdain of the Japanese. Indeed, it is an interesting observation. Do you know something about it, do you, Mr. Sholmes? It was about 10 years ago that Barak von Zeeks chose to enter the legal profession. However, before that time, the young man's closest companion hailed from the Empire of Japan. No. What the? Tell us more, Mr. Sholmes. What happened? I believe I've made it clear before. I'm unable to tell you anything about the affair. Oh, but... The veil will be lifted on the events of the past. In due course, I have no doubt. For now, however, it is Mr. Mustache who is most deserving of your attention, I believe. Well, I think we should go back to the scene and see if we can uncover any new clues. That's the spirit, Runo. See you later. Yes, until later. No, Mr. Jones, we were thinking you'd come with us. You were? Yes, of course, you said so just a moment ago. You said we'd witness your forensic talents in action. Ah, yes, I do recall saying something along those lines. But you go on ahead. I will be sure to follow you later, in all likelihood. Probably. Maybe. Well, I might. In all likelihood, probably, maybe, well, I might.
He's a ditzy.
I don't know.
A ditzy boy.
Your commitment astounds me. Oh, thank you, Mr. Jones. We'll eagerly await your arrival. Bye-bye, Rudo. Bye, Susie. Maybe if we go back to the scene, he'll show up.
Maybe.
No. Yep. Mr. Jones, what are you up to over there? What a question indeed. Was it not your good self who asked me to attend the scene? Oi, what are you doing here, Sholmes? What are you up to over there? What are you doing here? Dear me, once a great detective, one is always under scrutiny, it seems. Is now, Sholmes? Are you about to show us your forensic talents in action as you promised? With the greatest of pleasure, my dear madame. What's all this? All this is precisely what you requested, Mr. Naruhodo. Herlock Sholmes' sensational skin print seeker gun. Moments ago, I took a sample from the teacup that was used by the victim. A sample from Mr. Shamspeare's cup? Each individual leaves microscopic secretions on everything he or she touches. A sample of those secretions is all I need to produce this, a refined indicator solution. By liberally spraying the room with this chemical, everything the victim touched is instantly revealed with the aid of these goggles. Here, try them on. There, now spray the chemical indicator about and all will be revealed. Spray? How do I do that exactly? A little press of X on the area you're interested in is all that's required, like this. Ah, what is this stuff? It's like fog. A suspension of the chemical indicator in a pressurized gas. It's the most efficient way to cover a large area. There was another invention I discovered incidentally whilst I was developing this idea. As you do. Go ahead, try it, my dear fellow. We may learn something about the victim's movements on the night in question. Well, there's nothing to lose, I suppose. Let's explore. Oh, I love doing this kind of stuff. Look, there are dozens of handprints here. So there are, a great many indeed, so much so that it's hard to make out any one individual print, in fact. I heard a sense of chill down my spine. Perhaps he was leaning against the wall while he admired this picture. Unlikely, I would say. It's a rather dull scene, after all. And without wishing to state the obvious, you wouldn't generally admire a picture from such a close quarters, I feel. Oh, very true, Mr. Sato. It's a bit of a mystery, then.
Try the floor. So.
There we go. We're back to it. Look at this here. Ah, yes, interesting. A multitude of handprints. Why are there so many on the floor in this one spot? Oh, perhaps he had a bad fall just here. There's nothing obvious that he would have tripped over, though, is there? I wonder. Personally, I often stumble when there's nothing obvious to trip over. I think that's something only a great detective would do, Mr. Sholmes. Well, this is quite a puzzle. Handprints all over the floor. Yes, there's no obvious explanation, except for the piece of wood that you noticed.
That one looks like it's...
Well, we sprayed Mr. Sholmes' handprint amazing skin print indicator all over this room, didn't we? We did, but there are two places in particular that are of interest, I would say. And the handprint on the floor there, and on the wall by the picture, you mean? Yes, and I think the floor warrants closer investigation. I won't be a moment. Ah, what is it, Mrs. Sato? Look here, Mr. Naruhodo, one of the floorboards has popped out. One of the? You mean it's a secret hiding place? Excellent work, Mrs. Sato. So what do we have in here? Oi, what are you lot doing? Inspector Gregson. Stand aside right this minute. It's my job to investigate there. No need, Inspector. You continue to dig into your portion of chips while we dig around under the floors here. Your fancy talk's putting me off my food anyway, Sholmes. A new bit of evidence is exactly what I need. Wow, a secret hiding place under the floor. What a find. It's not a hiding place you could make use of in Japan. I don't think I could fit a straw tatami mat. No, I know, but I never expected one of those wooden floorboards to move either. Got me wondering about the wall over there, too. Aren't you curious? Oh, I'll investigate it once. There's nothing behind the picture, sadly, only the wall. How disappointing. But then how do you explain the handprints? I really can't think why anyone would have been touching the wall over and over in one place like that. There you are, a print for you. Oh, thank you very much. His invention can make prints, too. Now then, I wonder if Inspector Gregson has found anything under the floor there. I'm desperate to know. So am I.
Oh my gosh, there's already a mug down here.
I'd love to know if there's anything hidden underneath that floorboard there. Allow me to ask Gregson now. After all, we're well acquainted. Inspector Gregson? Really? It's been too long. What is it, Sholmes? I thought perhaps you might show me what you found there, seeing as we're such good friends. We're not friends.
We're not?
No, I suppose not. A dismal failure. Yes, I heard. I'd kill to know what was under the floorboard. Alright then, fair is fair. What? You did discover the hiding place after all. I suppose I should at least fill you in. Really, Inspector, thank you. Do it quickly, my dear fellow. There's one thing I know about this man, is that he blows with the wind, as fickle as the weather. Oi, stop making me out to be some kind of nut. There were 3 items under the floor there. A newspaper clipping, a photographic print, and a tin box. Now, what do you want to know?
I want everything.
Ah, I would like to know what the photograph is. Is there one you would like to know more first?
No.
So, this is the photograph I found.
Oh,
Looks...
Mr. Garrett and the boy that Olive painted. Right?
That's the boy Olive painted, so maybe that's why Mr. Shamspear wanted to look at the picture. There's some reason that we don't know.
Oh.
Looks reasonably recent to me. Yes, it would appear to have been taken on the street in front of the house here. The gentleman on the left is Mr. Garrett, the landlord, of course. But who's the young man on the right? Mr. Garrett's son, perhaps? Perhaps. You can take the print if you like. Really, are you sure? We can presume, therefore, the yard already knows. The identity of the young fellow, that is. Ah, is that true? Well, it's too bad if we do. Unfortunately for you lot, leaking information isn't one of my pastimes. My dear Inspector, if I would be so bold as to point something out... Pastimes are for one's leisure, but this is for work.
We could show it to Olive.
That's true. All the more reason I'm not telling you. A dismal failure. Yes, I heard. The hidden photograph has been entered into the court record. I wonder why a photograph like this was hidden under the floor. I mean, Mr. Shamsphere himself isn't in it, unless that's Shamsphere. In some, like, old thing. Yeah, photographic prints are still rare treasures in the East End. I imagine Mr. Garrett was rather delighted to have been immortalized. He probably made a proud present of it. Okay. Which would you like next? Looks like this was cut out of the paper about 3 months ago. It's about a convict who got sick and died while he was serving time up in Manchester. How terrible. It made the headlines down here in London as well. The bloke had been sentenced to death, you see, but nature got him first. Oh my goodness, he committed a capital offense. A man by the name of Selden, nasty piece of work into burglaries and murder. They say the hoard he'd knocked off was worth about £1,000. A hoard of treasure, you mean? Jewelry and the like, but he'd hidden it somewhere and no one knows where, and now he's dead. The papers loved it, of course, £1,000 lost en route to hell, or some such was the headline. Does it not strike you, though? Why such an article would be so carefully ensconced under the floor? I suppose now you mention it, it does seem a bit odd. Perhaps I'll go over the paperwork we've got on Selden, back at the yard, and see if I can turn anything up. Manchester Strangeways Prison announced the death of convicted murderer and burglar Selden by natural causes in the early hours this morning. He'd been suffering with fever since the end of October. Alerted by the shouts of his fellow cellmate, the medical staff arrived to find him already dead before his capital punishment could be carried out.
I wonder if Shamsphere is his cellmate.
Okay. Now for the tin box. Now this tin box looks interesting, does it? Doesn't it? Might I suggest, Inspector, that you open it. If you were to find something inside that reveals the truth behind this case, I wouldn't be in the least surprised. Yeah, funnily enough, I've already had a look. It's completely empty. What? Shamsphere, give us a clue, man. You didn't even have the chance to utter a word, Mr. Naruhodo. But anyway, at least we found out what's inside the box. Yeah, thin air, it's empty. Rather like how I feel inside. Is there nothing more to this box then, I wonder? Aww. Aww.
Is it a princess castle? Or something?
I guess that could be it. Oh look, it's that lovely little kitty cat. What was his name?
Naruhodo?
It's Mr. Natsumi's, isn't it? I don't think we ever asked him, actually. Why don't we call it Wagahai? You know, like Mr. Natsumi refers to himself in Japanese. Wonder how he got in here, clever cat. Oh, wonderful. Well then, Wagahai, here's something delicious I bought for you from the cat's meat man. Aww. Aww.
Maybe she's pregnant.
Oh, now he's sleeping. He couldn't be happier now. Look, I just hope we can bring some happiness to his owner, too.
Can I talk to the cat?
Yeah. Especially since he was just making biscuits there.
Oh.
That was a cheeky little meow, Wagahai. Oh, but he's so adorable. I could sit and watch him forever. I think he may not appreciate that after a while, and we have an investigation to get back to. But we will adopt.
At least we had an interview with her.
We had an interview, and we found out new information.
I'm pretty sure it's a she, though.
Yeah, I mean, we just called it a he, but Might be wrong about that.
Well, it has kittens on the way back to Japan because we keep it at Hermes, and then Natsumi is taking kittens back to Japan because he gets in trouble on the ship.
That's right. Now let's see, can we show her anything? No, still a check mark. Well, you know, we haven't gone to Garadeb's room. Maybe we can show him the picture if he's there. Mr. Garadeb appears to be out. Oh well, I suppose we'll just have to come back again later. Okay, so we'll have to come back again later. Maybe is there something we can show him? Do you know if it's a capital offender? What's this? It's a newspaper cutting that we found in Mr. Shakespeare's room. Ah, so he knew, did he? Sorry? About this man, Selden. A convicted killer, and the evil spirit behind the curse that afflicts my lodgings. What? He's already taken one young man's life, and now he's trying to take the life of another. A miserable mustached, maligned Japanese man. Mr. Natsumi, if you know something, please, you must tell us. Tell us everything you can about this evil spirit. Wow, okay, I didn't really know if he was going to know anything about this. The truth is, I didn't know the details myself until very recently. That Selden man was arrested about a year ago now, and at the time he was hiding out in lodgings at Mr. Garadeb's house. What? He lived? Where you do now? That's right, yes, exactly where I live now, in my very room. Oh my! Your room was previously occupied by a criminal found guilty of a capital offense? Before his sentence could be carried out, he died in prison. That was 3 months ago now. And that's what it started. The curse. What really is this curse you keep mentioning, Mr. Natsumi? It's already caused one death. A few months after the criminal passed away in prison, a man died in the room. The man who rented it after Selden, in fact. The poor lodger, he was found dead in mysterious circumstances. The room was locked from the inside. Locked from the inside, exactly like the case we're dealing with now. So that's the convict's curse, is it? Yes, well, that was the start of it. Do you have any idea how to lodge her before you passed away, Mr. Natsumi? The official cause of death was asphyxia. When they discovered the body, the room was full of gas. Gas? I only found that out after I'd signed the lease. When Mr. Garadeb came to tell me later, I couldn't stop myself trembling. In fact, if I'd known beforehand, I probably would have been too scared to take the room. Landlord's lease, luckily legal. Lucky for Mr. Garadeb, maybe, but not so lucky for poor Mr. Natsumi. And now you believe this curse is affecting you. It is. At first, I just felt as though I was being watched. All the time. And then you talked about having nightmares, didn't you? The dead are trying to take me with them. They come for me and try to suffocate me.
I know what he's doing.
What?
He's climbing the wall and turning off the gas to that lamp to try to gas him out. But that's not working. He's waking up because he feels like he's being choked, but it's the gas in the room. So he decided to go the poison route.
But he poisoned himself?
I don't understand that part, but the handprints of the wall, he's cutting gas to that lamp.
Oh. Wow. The fact that you just thought of all that, I'm
Maybe?
impressed.
I could be wrong. But
Well,
he's saying that he feels like he's struggling to breathe and he wakes up. So I think that Shamsir is actually trying to kill him.
Wow. That's pretty evil.
I know. But I could be wrong.
Just when I'm struggling to breathe, I wake up and the room is as cold as ice. I mean, that would explain why the gas would be off. It's cold. But why is the room so cold? London winters are too cold to bear without any heating on overnight. But for some reason, even though I light the stove before I climb into bed at night, the pilot light always goes out and the room fills with gas. But that's terrible. That's exactly the same situation as what led to the previous occupant's death. So this guy could already be responsible for one death.
Yeah.
And then there's what happened to Mr. Shanspere last night when he was mysteriously poisoned. There's clearly more to that incident that can be explained by a curse, though.
I'm starting to think Shamsphere might be a really bad guy.
Yeah, like this isn't a murder, but we might find out about some skeletons. Whatever can be the cause of all those strange happenings in Mr. Garrideb's rooms.
Show him a picture of the handprints, maybe?
No, I don't think he's going to understand this. No.
What about Garrideb and that boy?
We can try that one. Okay. Garrideb back. Yeah. Ah, you're here now, Mr. Garrideb. Right bally business it is for me, you know, getting out and about. Were you at the Old Bailey by any chance? Naturally, fate of my lodgings hanging in the balance and all that, not a trial to miss. The fate of what's already been dubbed your haunted lodgings, yes. Of course, the place has caused quite a stir around the capital on more than one occasion already. As the old haunted lodgings or some such. Ah, well, at least he knows. Makes you wonder what the blazes is going on, don't you know? Yes, I'm sure it does. In fact, thinking back to Mr. Natsumi's other trial just 2 days ago, you were at the Old Bailey then as well, weren't you, testifying with your wife about what happened? Stopped off at the prison on the way home, in fact. Beastly business. I see. So, what brings you to my haunted abode today, eh? Mr. Garrideb, could I ask you to look at this photograph? Is that your son who's with you there? No, not at all. He was a lodger here once. Duncan Ross was his name. I wonder if he's the previous guy. Duncan Ross? A street photographer happened to be passing, so I asked him to take a shot. Just for kicks, really. Was he by any chance the lodger before Mr. Natsume? Yes, that's right. Ah, the young gentleman who died in the room in mysterious circumstances. Just what Mr. Mustache was waiting for, one might say. Yes, young Duncan lived in the room at the top of the first flight of stairs before that Japanese chap. Would you mind telling us a little more about him? Yes, Duncan Ross, young chap was attending art school, had to work to pay for it, mind. Moved into the middle floor room about a year ago after that criminal Selden was arrested. Young students are always on the hunt for rooms with a history behind them. A history of cheap rent, maybe, yes? Yes, well anyway, it was one morning about a month ago now. Hadn't quite worked out the old trick of watching the gas lamps to see what my lodgers are up to at the time. So sadly I was rather tardy to discover what had happened. The smell of gas that alerted me it was. Ah yes, synonymous with the smell of death. Called the police straight away, of course, and the officer kicked the door off its hinges. But once we got inside, we all bally collapsed. Because of the gas? Yes, room was full of it. No air at all. Stove must have gone out while the poor chap was sleeping in his bed. So Mr. Ross suffocated to death. Of course, the police gave me a sound ticking off because the gas pipes were so old and all that. Can't tell you how much it set me back to have the lot replaced all over the house. But even after you had all that work done, Mr. Natsume says the same thing. That the stove goes out at night whilst he's asleep in bed. Well, that's the Bali curse, the convict's curse. I've done my duty as a landlord now. Someone's feeling defensive. Lodgings. Some fishy fellow from the Far East and a failed actor chap of questionable character, eh? Yes, the house does seem to have become something of a magnet for rum fellows of late. Thanks to that Bali curse. Convict's curse, you mean? Ah, heard the stories, have you? Ron Scoundrel was arrested here, then the next chap in the room goes and keels over. Then there was that woman who dropped dead just outside on the street, not to mention the actor yesterday. Am I next, eh? Well, can't help but get the collywobbles, can you? When you say the woman who dropped dead outside on the street, do you mean Miss Green? Because Miss Green, who was stabbed with a knife, and Mr. Shakespeare, who was poisoned last night, are both very much alive still. Yes, well, so is that blasted convict's curse, it seems. Personally, I should be quite content with such lodgings. A bath, a toilet, a fireplace, a fascinating history. Why, it sounds like the lap of luxury. I'm not so sure about that. Well, there's no bath or toilet included, and no fireplace either. But you do look out for your tenants, don't you? By watching the rise and fall of the flames in your gas lamps up here? Yes, never hurts to keep an eye on things, in case there are any mishaps of such like. I think you've had your mishap already, sir. Ah, ha 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 ha. That's not helpful, Mr. Sholmes. Heaven forgive me, the words just came to my lips. Some fishy fellow from the Far East. What the? There's no need for that. That's right, Mr. Natsumi's in no way fishy. Okay, so we're just doing... He is undeniably peculiar, however. Is it right that he took the vacancy immediately after the previous tenant passed away? Yes, that's right. I asked the estate agent to find someone and he popped up the very same day. Never came across a chap so keen for a place with a background, as it were. I don't think it was the room's background he was keen on so much as the cheap rent, actually. So how long has Mr. Shakespeare been lodging under your roof? That failed actor chap? Let me see. Oh, of course. Yes, it's been 3 months now, quite sure of it. Only 3 months? He's quite new here too, then. And to what do you owe your certainty in that regard, Mr. Garrideb, if I might ask? Well, it was that Selden scoundrel, as it happens. Selden, the convict, you mean? Do Selden and Shakespeare have some kind of connection, then? That convict chap, Selden, passed away in the clink 3 months ago now, you see. Some malady or other. Yes, we've seen the report from the newspaper at the time. Well, it was only 3 days later that the tragedian showed his face, the actor fellow. Really? Yes, I remember quite distinctly. 'Tis small, this world we inhabit. Prithee, landlord, hear my request. I, the humble Shakespeare, do desire to take thy room on the middle floor, offered ere while for rent. Oh, terribly sorry and whatnot, but that won't be possible. I already have a lodger on the middle floor. Ground floor's room's vacant, though. Nothing can be made out of nothing. Let me repeat mine with unto thee. Those curls must be muffling your ears. The room on the middle floor's taken. It's ground floor or nothing. Very well, we have an accord. Glad to hear it. Welcome to Briar Road. Lo, a Shakespeare dance to celebrate. From what I heard in court today, sounds like the chap was thieving gas. And he was 3 months in arrears with the rent too. Yes, the fellow was a bally player, all right. Thank you for your candor, Mr. Garrideb. We are most grateful. By way of appreciation, allow me to say 1 or 2 words. Give me my robe, put on my crown, I have immortal lodgings in me. What happened to you? Shakespeare, my dear fellow, one of his most favorite lines. I wish to divulge my own learning of the subject, for I have a turn for literature too, you know. Perhaps you should turn your attention to more apt lines, then. Ah, that reminds me, actually. Yes, about young Duncan, the night before the poor chap perished. He'd been writing a letter of affection to a young lady. A love letter, you mean? Yes, where did I put it now? Ah, here it is. Left it on my desk. If you'll excuse me, let me see now. What does it say? To my most beautiful and charming sweetheart. Do you think that we should be reading such a personal piece of correspondence? My dear Miss Susato, this is precisely why I preface my reading with, if you'll excuse me. I will not excuse him, Mr. Sholmes, no. Sadly, he didn't address it, though, so I have no means of delivering the thing. Rather sad, really. I see. That's going to play on my mind. But really, the identity of Mr. Ross's sweetheart has no bearing on the case. I think we should leave well alone. Yes, I suppose you're right. Indeed, the intended recipient's address is missing. However, there is a name attributed to the man's most beautiful and charming sweetheart. Mr. Sholmes, please, I've already had to chastise you about this once. My undying love to you, my colorful darling, Olive Green. Ah, Olive Green? The woman who was plunged into a coma after a knife plunged into her back outside this house 5 days ago. The victim of the last case of Seki-san was in court for, who regained consciousness only yesterday. Is it just chance that her name has come up now? Could it possibly be a mere coincidence? Mr. Naruhito, whatever can this mean? Reading personal correspondence can have its merits, you see, Mr. Sato. Ah, ha 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 ha. Mr. Naruhito, I've just finished speaking with the doctor. It seems Miss Green is well enough to be discharged at last. This is good news, but hopefully just before she leaves. Ah, what is it? Miss Green!
You drinking poison?
I hope not. What was that? She clearly just hit something behind her back. One moment, I'll be with you in a jiffy. Oh, hello everyone. What are you all doing here? The doctor has said I can be discharged, so I'm just getting my things together. Miss Green, what were you just doing? Oh, nothing really. I was just about to take some medicine the doctor prescribed for me, that's all. Well, we were hoping to have another quick chat with you, if that's alright. I don't really have anything else to tell you. Alright, she's definitely behaving strangely. Let's see if we can't coax something out of her. Let's see. This is the card that Miss Green was looking at so intently before, is it? Mr. Naruhito, we shouldn't be peeking at a young woman's private effects. Right, I should save peeking for gentlemen's effects only. You mustn't do that either. And maybe you, Mrs. Sato, shouldn't be peeking to a young man's mind either, This is the bottle that Miss Green was just about to drink from when we arrived. Yeah, she looked rather preoccupied, didn't she? Perhaps it's very bitter. I can't stand bitter medicine. I suppose that could be it. In fact, whatever a doctor prescribes me medicine for a number of days, I always take it all at once. Oh no! Well, if you have to take something you don't like, it's best to get it out of the way at once, you know? Oh dear, and I thought it was Miss Green I should be worried about at the moment. Before it falls from the table. Okay! Well, apparently it's gonna fall from the table.
Picture first.
Miss Green, we were hoping to ask you about someone. Mr. Duncan Ross. You knew him, didn't you?
Oh.
Here we go. Oh no, I'm so sorry. The bottle of medicine fell down when she did. Oh, Miss Green, are you alright? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to startle you like that. No, it's alright. I just wasn't expecting it. But how do you know about Duncan? Mr. Ross had been writing a letter when he passed away. The landlord found it in this room. It was a very personal letter to you. It was at the art school. That's where I met Duncan, a year ago now. He was working to fund his studies. He dreamt of becoming a professional artist one day. And the two of you became romantically involved? Yes, that's right. We were very much in love. We were engaged to be married, actually. That's why we decided to move into a cheaper room to save money for the wedding. And that's what led him to Mr. Garrideb's. Yes, he told me he'd found the worst but cheapest room in the entire East End. And then 1 month ago, that's when it happened. We're so terribly sorry, Miss Green. Well, it's all in the past now, I suppose. Poor Miss Green. She looks desperately sad. I was starting to think that was just her look. But now I see that she has every reason to feel the universe is against her. It's wonderful news that you're going to be discharged, Miss Green. Oh yes, I mean thank you. Once people are better, the hospital staff don't want them lingering and wasting space. Not people like me, anyway. So I don't think I should keep anyone waiting. I probably shouldn't stand around and chat. She certainly doesn't seem to be in the mood to talk, that's for sure. But I did show her that one thing, so we got some stuff out of her. I do hope you won't think I'm being rude, but would you mind leaving me in peace now? I have to leave the hospital soon. Oh, I'm so sorry, we didn't mean to hold you up. Of course, we'll be on our way. Mr. Naruhodo! Surely you are not about to leave? That's quite out of the question. What, Mr. Sholmes? I didn't realize you were here. But of course I was, my dear fellow. Watching intently from the shadows as always. Well, make your presence known next time. Mr. Sholmes, what's this about? Something which occurs to me with some regularity, Mrs. Sato, is this. Why do detectives insist on such an ex post facto modus operandi? Why solve a case after it's happened instead of preventing a case before it happens? That is what sets a great detective apart. What do you mean?
The rat drank the poison and died.
Oh, God. There's a case waiting to happen under our very noses, Mr. Naruhodo. Let us avert disaster. Let us prevent the case from ever happening with nothing but careful observation. Alright, all the clues you need are set before you. You only need to look, and you cannot fail to see. You can do it, Mr. Naruhodo. I know you can. Wow. See, I didn't notice the rat at first. That mouse seems to be dead. Look, I didn't notice it there before, did you? I think perhaps it drank the medicine that spilled out of the bottle. But that's the bottle that Miss Green was about to drink from when we arrived. You don't think... Ah, I see you've come to appreciate the true nature of the scene. That of a tragedy about to take place. Yes, I think it's falling into place. Miss Green, the contents of the bottle you had before has spilled out on the floor, and the poor mouse that drank it has sadly died. I think it's clear that the bottle must have contained a powerful poison. Don't worry, I will attend to the mouse presently. Miss Green, were you intending to go the same way as that rodent? To take your own life? Once we'd left, you would have put it on your lips again, wouldn't you, and taken the poison? I know... Miss Green, please talk to us. Ten seconds later, and we would have arrived at a very different scene here. In all probability, we would not have enjoyed this most delightful conversation. Of course, perhaps it hasn't been quite so delightful from your perspective, Miss Green. Actually, in a way, now that everything's out in the open, I feel like a weight has been lifted. Tell me, why did you acquire that medicine? Well, with this being a hospital and all, when the doctor comes to examine me in the morning, he always leaves the medicine cabinet open for a while, so I snuck this out while he wasn't looking. It conspicuously lacked a label. I wonder what it contains. I'm afraid I don't really know, but I thought if I drank it I might just stop the pain somehow. So, I noticed its medicine cabinet open for a while, so I snuck this out while I wasn't looking. Jeez. Oh, please, Miss Green, don't talk of such things. Well, it seems clear now that it contains poison. Yes, that poor little mouse is proof of that. Oh no, oh, it's my fault. What have I done? I shall remove this to my office, Miss Green. I take it you have no objection? No, none.
Try that article.
I don't know if we're done with her or not, but... I'm a bit tired.
I was gonna say, I think my time's up.
Yeah. But, that was good. Saving.
Brush my teeth, maybe I'll get away.
There's definitely a lot going on with this dude.
There's a lot going on all together.
Yeah. And we're gonna figure it out. Just won't be tonight. But we got a little over an hour in, and that's good. So until next time.